Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an honor and a privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news. Obviously, last night, biggest night of the year in the movie world. I had a great time. Special thank you to all you guys who joined Ann and myself as we just streamed us watching the Oscars. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time doing that. We should do more stuff like that. It was a really good time. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's jump right into it today. And the first topic today comes to us from Robbie Lee, who writes, "Hey John, I had a great time watching the Oscars last night. It was a nice mix of favorites winning and a couple of underdogs winning. What did you think of the winners on the evening?" All right, well, thanks a lot for the question, Robbie. And yeah, so the results came in, and I think for the most part, I actually did pretty okay with my Oscar picks. Usually my Oscar picks are like all over the place, and I'll get like 30% of them right. I think I did a little bit better than that last night, so it wasn't bad for Oscar picks. Yeah, I was mostly happy. There are a couple of results that as a film fan I was not happy with, but still, overall and for the most part, I was pretty damn happy. Let's talk about the results first. So let's go into the results of the Oscars, and we're just going to touch on these here pretty quickly. And then discuss amongst yourselves which ones you liked. Best Supporting Actor, this was no surprise. Sam Rockwell won for 3 Billboards. This is also one, I mean, look, Rockwell won all the awards before the Oscars, but there was, you wouldn't have been crazy if you put some money down on Willem Dafoe, figurative money, on Willem Dafoe or Woody Harrelson, but no big surprises there. It ended up being Sam Rockwell. All right, that's the wrong time. Okay, yeah, we're at this now. We're not going to talk too much about hair and makeup. I thought Victoria and Abdul should have won, but hey, Darkest Hour, the job they did on Gary Oldman, of course. Costume design was Phantom Thread. Best documentary was Icarus. Best sound editing, Dunkirk. I actually thought sound editing was something, and the sound ones and editing in general were awards that maybe could have gone to Baby Driver. Like that, if there was any like real dark horse pick going into the Oscars, me was Baby Driver in the sound categories and in the editing, because it was incredible on both. But hey, no complaints at all for Dunkirk winning in sound. Okay, then we get down to sound mixing. Of course, Dunkirk swept the sound stuff. Best production design, Shape of Water. A lot of things there that could have won. Beauty and the Beast could have won. Blade Runner could have won. Darkest Hour could have won. Dunkirk could have won. A lot of good stuff there. Foreign language film, A Fantastic Woman won. Best Supporting Actress, again, no surprise at all. Allison Janney won for I, Tonya. She swept all the previous awards for her performances. I completely agree that she should have won this award. She was absolutely fabulous in that. She had a great awards. I love the fact that she started her awards speech. Like, everybody goes up, I couldn't have done this without so-and-so. And Allison Janney comes up and her first words are, "I did this all by myself." And I thought that was great. I laughed at that. I thought it was wonderful. Best animated short was Dear Basketball. Look, I am not a Kobe Bryant fan. Everybody knows this, and my wife knows this. But I was actually at a John Williams concert at the Hollywood Bowl, and John Williams composed the music for Dear Basketball. And they actually brought Kobe Bryant out to narrate iBasketball as they played it, and then John Williams conducted the score. And I thought, you know what? This is really good. This Dear Basketball little animated short is really good. So while I am not a Kobe Bryant fan, I mean, kudos to them for winning that, because it is, if you haven't seen Dear Basketball, watch. I think it's like 4 minutes long at most. It's a really short little thing, but watch it if you get a chance. Best animated film, absolutely no surprise here. The winner went to Coco. I think everybody, probably that had a 100% vote rate on all Oscar ballots. Best visual effects. Here's where I have a problem. Blade Runner and the visual effects were great. 2049 wins over War for the Planet of the Apes. Bull. That was straight up some bullshit right there. Don't get me wrong, Blade Runner 2049 looked great. The effects in Last Jedi were great. The effects in Kong Skull Island were great. But I'm sorry. What was done in War for the Planet of the Apes? When you are watching a movie where almost 100% of the shots have like high advanced visual effects, and you forget you're looking at any visual effects through the entire movie, including these damn apes, there's just no rational explanation for Blade Runner, which was beautiful. It was beautiful, but a lot of times I'm watching scenes in Blade Runner 2049, and I never once felt like it was real. Like, I've seen sci-fi movies where they have a lot of sci-fi stuff in it, yet I can feel like it's real. There was a lot of shots and times in Blade Runner 2049 that I looked like I was watching an art piece instead of something that looked real. And so again, I'm not trying to cast any shade on Blade Runner 2049, not at all. But what they did in Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes, was stupid good. And that was my biggest issue with the awards and who won and who didn't win last night, was the I will call it a snubbing. This is the only time I'm going to use the word, is snub. It was the snub of the evening. War for the Planet of the Apes not winning that award. So anyway, that's just my feelings on that. Best editing went to Dunkirk. No complaints. Again, I thought maybe it could have gone to Baby Driver, but no complaints for Dunkirk. Documentary short, Heaven is a Traffic Jam on the 405. Best live action short, The Silent Child. I'm going to admit I didn't see that. Best adapted screenplay went to Call Me By Your Name. Again, this is one that could have gone to a number of them. I probably would have given it to Molly's Game, but absolutely no complaints about Call Me By Your Name winning. And of course, a lot of us were kind of keeping our fingers crossed for Logan, which was still just amazing that it was even nominated. But yeah, no complaints here. Best original screenplay. This is my other problem. Get Out. Again, all film is subjective, and this is a great example of all film being subjective. But there's no way Get Out should have won Best Screenplay over, say, like The Big Sick by Kumail Nanjiani. I thought that screenplay was a better screenplay. I would have taken it over Lady Bird, but then you're looking at like the screenplay for Shape of Water and 3 Billboards. You're telling me the screenplay for Get Out was better? First of all, I thought The Big Sick my pick for the winning that was Kumail. I thought he should have won for Big Sick. I thought Nanjiani deserved that. But on top of that, I thought Get Out was the 4th best screenplay on this list. So, hey, whatever though, it won. You got to have some surprises, right? I'm not as upset about that as I am about the visual effects thing though, because it is a great screenplay. So there you have it. Let's see. Best cinematography went to Deakins for Blade Runner 2049. I thought maybe Dunkirk had a shot at that, but anyway, so that's a good one. Best score went to Shape of Water. Best song. This is another surprise to me. Like, I knew that Coco, Remember Me, had a shot. I knew it had a shot, but This Is Me clearly should have won that award. This Is Me clearly should have won that award. But hey, there you go. That's why it's the Oscars. That's why you get some surprises. Best director, pretty much knew it was going to be Christopher Nolan or Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro wins it. That makes 4 out of the last 5 Best Picture or Best Director Academy Awards have gone to Mexican directors. We're talking about Iñárritu, you're talking about Cuarón, and you're talking about Del Toro now. I think it was Iñárritu that won 2 of them, right? Or was it Cuarón that won 2 of them? I can't remember. Anyway, 4 out of the last 5 Best Director Awards have gone to Mexican filmmakers. So you can bet a lot of people are going to be keeping a really close eye on filmmakers coming out of Mexico. Best Actor, this was the lock of the night. Gary Oldman. Of course, Daniel Day-Lewis had an outside shot, but Gary Oldman won. Best Actress, absolutely the best person won. Frances McDormand won. I thought there was an outside shot for Meryl Streep. And then I started to think maybe there was an outside shot for Margot Robbie as well, but the right person won. Frances McDormand won. And of course, Best Picture went to Shape of Water. I kind of thought it should have been 3 Billboards, but I love Shape of Water so much, I have no complaints. So there's the results of the evening. Now, a couple of the highlights of the evening for me. Let me talk about some of the highlights. First of all, I cannot talk about the highlights in the Oscars if I do not mention, every year it seems like they do a little stunt. Whether it was the pizza coming in for the crowd, or the Ellen selfie, or bringing in the tour group who didn't realize they were coming into the Oscars last year. That was good. I loved the little stunt they did last night. When Kimmel just grabbed a whole bunch of the celebrities, including Margot Robbie, Gal Gadot, Mark Hamill, Armie Hammer. I mean, and they went across the street into a movie theater. I have sat in and watched movies many, many times at that damn Chinese 6 theater there, and surprising the audience. I loved it. I don't know if you didn't watch my live stream last night. I was just smiles the whole time. I was just grinning from ear to ear like an idiot. I thought that was a great stunt. If I had been in that theater and all of a sudden, first of all, I completely would have been fixated on Mark Hamill, obviously, but And then all the Lupita Nyong'o comes in. You've got you got Margot Robbie. You got all these people coming in. What a great little stunt. I thought it was wonderful. Also, one of the highlights of the evening, Maya Rudolph and Tiffany Haddish. Of course, I have been in love with Tiffany Haddish ever since Girls Trip. She was the breakout star of Girls Trip. The two of them on stage together was fire. Absolute fire. And as soon as that happened, they were on stage. Anne says, these guys should host the Oscars. And then that turned into this huge, not because Anne said it, but it turned into this huge online thing last night that a lot of people are now calling for these two to host the Oscars next year. That was really good. A couple of other memorable things. Really, Jordan Peele winning First African American to win Best Screenplay. Again, I didn't think he should have won, but the fact that he did does make history. The jet ski joke was pretty good. I thought that was okay. What else was there? The Frances McDormand speech was great. I love Frances McDormand. I'll watch her in anything. No really huge surprises. Lady Bird got shut out, which I was honestly happy for because I'm the only person in North America that didn't like Lady Bird. So I'm probably the only person that was happy it kind of got shut out. And the little spot by Lupita Nyong'o and Camille was a really nice little spot. And them talking about Dreamers and the one Dream Act. And I'll say this about the Oscars last night too. Other than the one pretty funny jab at Mike Pence, because we don't make movies like Call Me By Your Name for the money. We make them to annoy Mike Pence. There's that joke. And then there's the one call out about the Dreamers project by Lupita and Camille. And that was it. That was it for the politics. I mean, there was a lot of talk about equality and fairness, but I still contend those are not political issues. Those are basic human issues that people on the left and the right mostly can agree on. We might have different ideas about how to achieve those and what those mean, but basically speaking, you've talked to most people. I'm a Canadian living in the United States. You talk to most people in this country. Most people in this country believe in the basic principles of fairness and equality. Most people do. And I don't consider those to be political issues. Anybody who complains about those being political issues, I would probably go, you're probably the one bringing a political agenda to this. Just saying women should be treated fairly is not politics. That's just basic human fairness. And I found that for the most part, it was nice to see that for the most part, they focused their attention more on some social stuff as opposed to the political stuff. I like that. I thought that was pretty good. What were some of the other things here? This is the other thing I loved about the Oscars last night. There's been this call for make the Oscars younger, make the Oscars younger. Have people coming out with soothers in their mouths, whatever. But what I really liked was that they did both. They skewed younger and they also honored the past more. One of the coolest things was Rita Moreno. I've always pronounced her name, Moreno, who won the Academy Award over 56 years ago. She comes out to present an award wearing the same dress she wore 56 years earlier. I loved that. And then when Eva Marie Saint came out to present for costuming, the fact I can listen to these old Hollywood stars tell stories about Hollywood all day. So I found that, you had new movement stuff, but you also had really paying homage and honoring the old Hollywood at the same time. And I thought that was a really nice mix. I enjoyed it a great deal. And I was really happy to see that online. Most people loved them honoring old Hollywood while celebrating new Hollywood all at the same time. So I got a kick out of that. But anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on the Academy Awards last night. Jump down to the comment section, share your thoughts and all that. Biggest night of the year. I'm sure some of you guys are going to want to bring up some topics in the live chat when we get to that. But now we've got to move on. All right. The next topic comes to us from Patreon supporter Nathan Oswald, who writes, do you think Disney will have to change the Solo posters because of the plagiarizing accusations? All right. Now, this actually came up a few days ago. For those of you who have not heard about this thing just kind of burst online like crazy. Now, those Han Solo posters came out with all the characters, and they look fantastic. They look great. I really like them. But then this French, I believe it's a French artist, gets online and basically says, hey, I'm flattered and everything, but you guys just clearly plagiarized my work. And what he was talking about was this set of albums that you can see in the bottom row, that album covers that he designed. I believe it was for Sony Music. And these album covers that he designed. And look, when it comes to art and stuff like that, there's only so much you can do. At some point, somebody's going to do something that looks like something somebody else did. That doesn't necessarily mean they were copied or plagiarized. It's just coincidence. But I saw these posters, man, and I thought, this is way beyond coincidence. This is far beyond coincidence at this point. There is no way that this is like legit. You know what I'm saying? This is some straight up plagiarizing right here. There is no doubt that whoever put these solo posters together saw and drew influence from, and let's just call it what it is, copied what this other guy did. Now, some people getting mad at Disney for it. Here's the thing. I probably believe there's nobody at Disney who had any idea about this. They probably hired a firm or something to do the marketing for it, or even some of their own artists maybe had no clue they were plagiarizing. Also, there's a report on Mashable that raises a very good possibility in that it is very possible Disney may have talked to Sony. Sony, who actually holds the rights to these images. The rights to these images are actually owned by Sony, according to the report in Mashable. And what Mashable says, hey, it's actually totally conceivable that Disney may have communicated with Sony to get permission or buy some rights to use the style for the posters, in which case they wouldn't have to go to the artist. The artist did that work of art, paid for that work of art, was paid, for that work of art. The work of art and everything about it belongs to Sony. So maybe it's possible Disney went to Sony and got permission. We just don't know. There's a lot of things here. But I mean, if you're like me, man, you saw these and bring these up again. There's just no getting around. This was clearly a case of copying. This was clearly a case of copying. And I hope it either comes out that Disney did get permission from Sony, or we find out that some art house that Disney hired, did bad, and Disney will sever ties with them or discipline that company, or whatever the case is. I hope one way or another this situation gets made right. All right, let's move on now to the final emailed in topic of the day. And the final emailed in topic of the day comes to us from Michelle Hayes, who writes, I saw on Box Office Mojo that Black Panther is now in the top 10 domestic box office films of all time, climbing over $500 million domestically, and also crossed the $900 million worldwide mark. By reaching $900 million in just 3 weeks, is it safe to say that at this pace, it should hit $2 billion by April 1st? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Michelle. And fair question, but here's where this is where a lot of people forget about things, is that we think, well, if it made this much money in 3 weeks, then extrapolate that, if that's the pace it's on, in another 3 weeks, it'll make double that. A lot of times we often forget that the rate, it's declining, and it's declining quickly. 40 to 50% every week it goes down. So it making X number of dollars in 3 weeks is not an indicator of what it will make in the next 3 weeks as far as pacing goes. Because, for instance, Black Panther made, by the way, Ray is doing such a great job on these sidebars. Black Panther, and in the lower thirds, look at, where was it this way? Yeah, look at that lower third there. That looks great. Anyway, Black Panther, made $201 million in its opening weekend. This weekend, however, it made $65 million, which is amazing for a third weekend, yes, but obviously you can see a rapid rate of decline. That's what happens with movies, rapid rates of decline. So no, we are not going to see Black Panther hit that. I'm feeling safer and safer in my original prediction. Black Panther is not going to hit $2 billion. However, there also was a time that I didn't think Black Panther would hit $1 billion. So well, let's not forget that. And it's clearly going to cross $1 billion. I still think it's going to finish up around 1.4, 1.5. It opens up in China this week. Now, whether it's going to make $100 million in China or $400 million in China, we'll have to see. But I'm still feeling pretty good. It's going to come in around the 1.4, $1.5 billion mark. We'll just have to wait and see how that all works out. Okay, with that out of the way, guys, with all the email stuff out of the way, there are a bunch of other things going on in the world of movie news that, well, we don't have time to go into in depth and talk about a whole bunch. But I want to make sure if you watch the John Campea Show that you guys are caught up to date with everything that goes on in the world of movie news. So this is a little segment we call the Movie News Feed. Check this out. There can be only one more. Lionsgate is finally moving forward with their Highlander reboot with a script from Colony writer Ryan Condal, and the film is set to begin pre-production later this year. Highlander will be directed by John Wick director Chad Stahelski after he finishes work on John Wick 3. Ryan Reynolds was attached for some time to play the new McLeod, however that didn't work out. Highlander is one of my top 10 all-time favorite movies, so I'm personally really excited to see a new incarnation of it. Next up, according to a report in Variety, Sony's The Crow will finally be released in theaters on October 11th, 2019. A remake of the 1994 classic, The New Crow is expected to star Jason Momoa with the relatively unknown Corin Hardy as the new director. The reboot is said to be a more faithful adaptation of James O'Barr's original 1989 comic book of the same name and has been in development for nearly a decade with a long list of directors and actors, including Bradley Cooper, Luke Evans, and Jack Huston most recently, attached at some point to play the lead role. Let's see if this one sticks. Next, remember that Logan's Run remake that Bryan Singer was trying so hard to get off the ground for years? Well, it seems the project is now moving ahead, just, without him. According to Deadline, Warner Brothers has just closed a deal to kickstart the project, written by Hunger Games writer Peter Craig and directed by X-Men Dark Phoenix director Simon Kinberg. The story is set in a utopian society in the future where the population and consumption of natural resources are maintained in balance by killing people once they turn 30. It follows Logan 5, a Sandman killer, as he runs off with Jessica while being chased by another Sandman killer after he himself faces death. Next up, get ready for some more Bad Boys, except, no Martin Lawrence or Will Smith. This is a TV spin-off featuring Bad Boys 2 co-star Gabrielle Union for NBC. According to Entertainment Weekly, Jessica Alba has also joined the project as Union's new partner. The prospective series will follow Union's Sid Burnett, sister to Marcus, that's Martin Lawrence's character, and love interest to Mike, that's Will Smith's character, from Miami to Los Angeles. The former DEA agent will now be working as an LAPD detective and be partnered with Alba's character, Nancy McKenna. Alba's casting marks her first regular TV series since she starred in James Cameron's Dark Angel all the way back in 2000. And finally, it was a big night for the Emoji Movie at the 38th Annual Razzie Awards, honoring the worst in film. Here are your results. Worst Picture went to the Emoji Movie. Worst Actress went to Tyler Perry for Boo 2: A Medea Halloween. Worst Actor went to Tom Cruise for The Mummy. Worst Supporting Actor, Mel Gibson for Daddy's Home 2. Worst Supporting Actress, Kim Basinger in 50 Shades Darker. Worst Screen Combo, any two obnoxious emojis from the Emoji Movie. Worst Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel, 50 Shades Darker. Worst Director, Anthony Leonidas for the Emoji Movie. And Worst Screenplay went to the Emoji Movie. And that will do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. All right, and that's your movie news feed for the day, and I hope you guys are enjoying these segments. I really like putting these movie news feed segments together to get you guys caught up. All right, it's now that time of the show. I got about 10 minutes here to take some of your live questions. Listen, guys, if you have not sent in a Super Chat live question yet, please cut them off. I'm not going to have time to get to all of them. Any of you guys whose questions I don't get to today, don't worry, I'm making a supplemental video to pick up on all those questions. So your questions will get answered in a video today. It just might not be right here. So with that out of the way, let's jump over to see what the live questions are today. And the first one comes to us from Rex Cousins. And Rex Cousins writes, "Hey, John, do you watch House of Cards? I'm interested to see where they're going to take this final season without Kevin Spacey." Yeah, I am caught up to date with House of Cards. It was neat. They actually played their first little teaser for the new House of Cards without Kevin Spacey. One of the smaller reasons, there are much bigger implications, but one of the other reasons I'm a little bummed out about the whole Kevin Spacey thing is I really liked him in House of Cards, and it's absolutely right that he's not on the show anymore. Also, by the way, side note, speaking of them showing a clip for House of Cards, I was kind of surprised that the only movie trailer they showed during the Oscars was the Mary Poppins ones. And it was just a short little a tease of it, but I kind of expected to see more movie trailers at the Oscars, but I guess they decided not to do that. All right, next question comes to us from Adam Griffin, who writes, interesting fact. Robert Lopez, one half of the Remember Me team, became the first person last night to become a double EGOT. Pretty damn impressive. It is damn impressive, considering almost nobody is a one-time EGOT. For those of you who don't know what an EGOT is, it is being the quadruple winner of, an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. It is one of the fewest things that anybody in entertainment can possibly achieve, winning one of all four of those. And now I haven't fact checked this, Adam, but if you're right and Robert Lopez becomes the first double EGOT, that's insane. That's absolute. I don't think that'll ever be duplicated if that's actually the case. TF writes, "Hey John, love the Oscars. Happy for Sam Rockwell, as I thought he already won an Oscar." I know, right? He's one of these actors that you just think he's like Ian McKellen. You just kind of think he did win an Oscar already. He's been in so many things. Sad for Logan. Oh, yeah, I'm sad for Logan too. But you know what? I knew it wasn't going to win. But just the fact that it got nominated is such a huge step forward for the entire genre of comic book movies. It's massive, and I was thrilled for it. Dirk Diggler writes, "I think I'm going to move away from making DCEU remarks, but the last thought that I have is that if DC were sold, that the DCEU will die in the hands of its new owner due to declining brand life cycle." I'll disagree with you. I completely agree that it could. Yes, that is one of the possible outcomes, that's what could happen. But if it went into a new set of creative hands, and by the way, I still think the DCEU can work at Warner Brothers. I think they got to reboot it, but I think it can still work there. But if Warner Brothers did get sold off to another company, I think in new creative hands, there's also other possibilities as well. They could really kickstart this thing and make it something wonderful. I don't think one thing is a predetermined fate for it, but it's definitely one of the possible outcomes. The thing you're suggesting here, Dirk, is one of the possible outcomes, no doubt. All right, Sam Fisher writes, "Ian McKellen for Best Actor without an Oscar." Yeah, last night I said in the Oscar broadcast that now that Gary Oldman has won his Academy Award, he was clearly the mantle holder of Best Actor Alive not to have won an Oscar yet. I contend for years he's been that guy. He's had that crown. No longer does he have to wear that title. So the question is, who gets that title now? Who is the title holder of Best Actor not to have an Academy Award? A bunch of people were saying things like Jake Gyllenhaal was a name that came up. Ian McKellen was a name that came up. Patrick Stewart's a name that has to be up there. I mean, there's a whole bunch of names that we could start riffing on. I don't think... I can't remember. Did Joaquin Phoenix win for Walk the Line? I can't remember. But anyway, there it is. Who do you think now is the title holder for Best Actor not to have won an Oscar yet? Let me know your thoughts. All right, we move on here. Curtis Lopez writes, "Really enjoyed your live Oscar watch." Thank you so much, Curtis. "Shame the other place you used to work for couldn't upload their live stream properly and having title card for halfway through and finally jump in the video." Well, I mean, look, I appreciate, let me take a moment to say this. And first of all, Curtis, I appreciate you and your motivation for saying, I deeply appreciate it. But let me say this. There are a number of people on my channel, viewers, not staff. There are a number of people on my channel who take shots at the last place I worked. And while I understand that's kind of your way of expressing support for me, and I appreciate it, I really, really do. Remember, I still got a number of people that I hired that work over there that I still hold very dear to my heart over there. So I appreciate you expressing support for me. I really do. But it's not about taking shots at the other place. So let's not do that. There's still a bunch of people that I hold near and dear to my heart. And look, let's not pretend like I don't have technical issues here myself, right? I mean, I have had my share of technical issues. Technical issues happen. That happens. So I would appreciate it. And again, I so appreciate your motivation. I do. But I would appreciate it if you wanted to express support for me, which I appreciate deeply. Do it in a positive way as opposed to taking a shot at the other place that I used to work over there, at the guys there. Because a lot of the guys there, the guys who are there are guys I put in place. They're people that I hired and that I developed. And they're people that I still hold very dear to my heart, a number of them. So let's not take shots at them. I appreciate that. But thank you again for expressing support to me and expressing your enjoyment of my channel here. I really do appreciate that a lot. Sam Fisher writes, Ralph Fiennes. Oh my God, does Ralph Fiennes not have an Academy? Did he not win an Academy Award for English Patient? I'm going to have to look that up now. If Ralph Fiennes doesn't have one, he's probably the best actor alive right now that doesn't have an Academy Award. Another one is, Oh, there's too many to mention. But yes, good name there. If he didn't win one for English Patient, and something tells me he might have, but maybe he didn't. But if he didn't win one already, Ralph Fiennes is a good name to put on there. Luis Francisco writes, "Hey John, what do you think about?" I don't know who that person is, so I can't comment, Luis. Sorry about that. I don't know who it is. Sam Fisher writes, Kenneth Branagh. That's who I was just brain freezing on. Yes, Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh is another name of a dude who's. Kenneth Branagh is actually one of these guys who's probably even a better director than he is an actor. But Kenneth Branagh is definitely a great name for that. Dakota Barber writes, when think the new Infinity War trailer will drop? Well, I don't know. It's anytime. It's got to be soon. I mean, the movie's less than 2 months away now. So the only thing we can say is soon. I mean, it could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be a week from now, it could be 2 weeks from now, but it's got to be soon. We're getting close. We're getting closer now. Toonie Tube writes, Oscar for Blade Runner effects? Are you kidding me? There are many other 2017 movies that should get it more. Again, I'm not taking a shot at the visual effects in Blade Runner. The visual effects in Blade Runner are very, very good. I'm not complaining that it was nominated, nothing like that, but look, even if Star Wars had won, and you know how much I love Star Wars, if Star Wars had won, I would be complaining equally as loud. War for the Planet of the Apes should have won that award. To me, it was a no-brainer that it should have won the award. And yes, I would be saying it just as emphatically if Star Wars had won it instead of Blade Runner. And I love the visual effects of Star Wars. I love the visual effects in Blade Runner, but no way, War for the Planet of the Apes should have been overlooked. Kevin Bennett writes, why are TV ratings for Oscars in decline? I mean, I know there wasn't a lot of high profile films this year. Like there wasn't like the big sexy nominee this year. Like, look, Shape of Water is not a blockbuster hit. 3 Billboards, not a blockbuster hit. Dunkirk made a lot. Actually, Dunkirk made a lot of money, but that's not like a huge pop culture movie. That's not going to draw a lot of attention. Lady Bird, not many people saw Lady Bird. Get Out is considered a hit, but it made like 200 something million worldwide. So it's not like it was a $700 million worldwide film. There just wasn't any big sexy names in the Academy Awards this year. So I was expecting the ratings to be down. It's still going to be, other than the Super Bowl, it's still going to be the highest rated television event of the year, other than the Super Bowl or other than NFL. It's going to be that. So it's still going to be monstrously huge, but there was no, Django Unchained this year. There was no, oh my God, if Logan had been nominated for Best Picture, that would have been the big sexy name. But again, that's the spot the Oscars in. They shouldn't vote for what they think will bring in viewers. They should vote for what they think is the best. And they voted for what they thought was the best. And that equaled lower viewers. But still, it's going to be more viewed than any other television event this year. Let's see. Ali Hussein writes, why have no studio done the Phantom reboot? It's a great time to reboot because of comic book era movies. I think Phantom's a difficult one to do. Even back in the day when cheesier comic book movies were okay, the Phantom was even cheesy for that. And I love me Billy Zane, but I don't know. I don't think that's one that would get much traction. Honestly, I think if you did a remake of the Phantom, I don't think it would get much traction. I don't think it would be an uphill battle to get an audience out to see it. I think, at any rate. Let's see. The Hairless Wookiee writes, your thoughts on Minority Report? I love Minority Report. It's a great Steven Spielberg film. Tom Cruise is great in it. It's visual effects that were way ahead of its time. Really good, intricate, complex, but not overly convoluted story. It's a wonderful film. I love Minority Report. Starlord writes, greetings from Winnipeg. You're down by the Forks in Winnipeg? I used to stop off in Winnipeg going back and forth because I lived for a while in Saskatoon. And of course, home is in Hamilton in the Toronto area. And I used to stop in Winnipeg going back and forth. Really nice city. So happy they got the Jets back, by the way. Christian Clayton writes, what's your favorite fast food restaurant? It's a Canadian chain called Harvey's. Best fast food burger there is in the world is the Harvey's. I'm not saying it's the best hamburger in the world. I'm saying it's the best fast food hamburger in the world. The best meat patties. It's called Harvey's. I wish they had some in the United States, but Harvey's is the best fast food restaurant. Let's see. Brian Ford writes, thoughts on Kobe Bryant allegations resurfacing again after his Oscar win? Well, I said during my streaming last night, it's like, wow, it's really kind of ironic in the Me Too era that Kobe Bryant gets an award. Again, look, I'm not going to go into it too much other than say, I've expressed many times I'm not a big Kobe Bryant fan. those allegations are things I don't think he ever really dealt with. But that aside, the Deer basketball short animated film was the best of the year. It was great. And I really appreciated it for what it was. This is a situation of me separating who wrote it from the actual piece of art itself. But hey, yeah, I knew it would. I mean, the moment he came on stage, I knew that stuff would resurface. Of course it was going to resurface. Obviously it would. But other than that, I don't want to get into it too awful much. But hey, fair on you for asking, Brian. What am I doing here? Puliawalis. I know I'm mispronouncing the name. Thoughts on Blood in Blood Out. Blood in Blood Out, a.k.a. Bound by Honor. Well, I talked about that a few weeks ago. Did I talk about it a few weeks ago? Oh, maybe I'm thinking of something absolutely completely different. Listen, let me get back to you on that. Let me move on from that for now. Ali Hussein writes, I finally watched Coco last night. It's a wonderful movie. I was tearing up so much. It's my favorite animated movie from Pixar ever, in my opinion. Yeah, it's not my favorite all-time Pixar movie, but I walked out of that theater glowing. Like, I was just so moved by it. So much emotion, so beautiful, and yet fun and funny at the same time. Pixar really knows how to strike that balance really well. Okay, just time for a couple more here. Anthony C. writes, an old TV show you wish would get a continuation. Gilligan's Island. I'm going to go Gilligan's Island. There you go. Or Night Court. Night Court's another good one. Shankar Sakar writes, do you think the inclusion rider idea is a good one? Well, it depends on because last night, Frances McDormand ended her speech by saying inclusion rider. Basically, that's just calling for that when an actor signs up for a film or a television show, they put into the contract something called the inclusion rider that demands that there be fair hiring practices for gender and ethnicity and minorities. If that means that you have to have fair hiring standards, then I'm all for it. If it means quotas, then I'm not for that. But listen, the fact of the matter is we have had decades and decades and decades in Hollywood of there not being fair hiring practices, of the best person not necessarily getting the job because people were excluded out because of their ethnicity or because of their gender. So for them to, if inclusion rider just means you have to have some standards in place to make sure you're going to have fair hiring practices. If the best person for that job is a woman, you're going to hire a woman. If you have highly qualified people from a minority group, you're going to interview those people and you're going to give them a fair shot at that job. And if it ends up being somebody else, fine. If that's what inclusion rider means, then I am all for inclusion rider. If it means you have to have X percentage of this and X percentage of that and X percentage of this, then I'm not for that. But I don't think that's what inclusion rider is. And if it just says you got to have a higher standard for your fairness practices, then I'm all for it. In that case, I'm all for it. But again, I don't have a real solid understanding of it. That's my basic knowledge of it right there. Kevin Bennett writes, Daniel Day-Lewis has won 3 acting Oscars out of 6 nominations. Meryl Streep has 3 out of 21. Is DDL the better actor? Oh, well, look, that has nothing to do with it. Winning this out of this, that's like a ridiculous thing that comes up in sports a lot, right? It's like, that team you like got to the championship game and only won 50% of their championship games. Yeah, but they were good enough to get to the championship games. It's not like they just won a lottery and got in a championship game and lost. They won so much and they were good enough to get to that championship game. So this whole thing of you only won so many out of so many things, that's a ludicrous thing. I believe, look, Daniel Day-Lewis and Meryl Streep are probably the 2 greatest actors of all time. I would give the nod to Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, not because he's won 3 out of 6, but it's just that he's just brings it every single time. So does Meryl Streep. I would give the nod to Daniel Day-Lewis, but has nothing to do with 3 times out of so many nominations, 3 times out of so many nominations. The fact of the matter is, you are never going to get another actress, ever, who is good enough to get 21 nominations. Never are you going to find an actress good enough or an actor good enough to get 21 nominations. It's never going to happen. Maybe Daniel Day-Lewis could have done it if he did more than 1 film every 4 years. Maybe Daniel Day-Lewis could have done that. Actually, yes, if Daniel Day-Lewis had been more proficient, if he had done more films, I think he could have hit that number as well. But he didn't. He decided to do one movie every 3 or 4 years. Meryl Streep is a very active actress, and she's won a hell of a lot. Let's see. Aaron, where did I lose Aaron? Aaron writes, Jennifer Garner last night. Oh my God, no kidding, right? Drool. Everybody knows I got a crush on Jennifer Garner. ZCM writes, do you think we'll get a Coming to America 2? No, I don't think so. I think the ship for that has sailed a long time ago. Anthony C. writes, what if the DCEU decided to continue making their films but no longer connected them in a cinematic universe? Thoughts? Then that's just too little too late. I mean, that's like taking a machete and cutting open 5 huge slices on your body and then taking one Band-Aid and slapping it on somewhere. To me, that's not the solution. I don't think that's the way to do it. That might be what they're going to do, and it might be what they're going to try, but yeah, I don't see it working out all that well. Okay, guys, that's all the time I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, those of you who sent in super chats that I didn't get to, those will be included in a supplemental video a little bit later today that'll go up for all the questions I didn't get around to. So don't worry, your question is going to get answered today. Thanks a lot for joining me, guys. Listen, if you're somebody who watches my content and enjoys watching my videos, do me a favor. Head on over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. Find out what it means to be a Patreon supporter of mine, how being a Patreon supporter keeps my shows on the air, and of course, what benefits there are to being a Patreon supporter. Then maybe you'll become one of my Patreon supporters too, which would be awesome if you did. Also, you notice that the show started with some email questions. How do you get one of those email questions on the John Campea Show? It's simple. Email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line and keep your emails to 90 words or less. You can follow me on social media. Just follow me on Twitter, simply at John Campea. So hey guys, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the thumbs up on this video. Share your thoughts on any or all the topics we discussed below, and that would be wonderful. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.